This is a story about how my sister was unalived with a man that she met 3 weeks prior. So in 2014, my sister had just turned 27 years old, and she lived in another city in Pennsylvania with my mom. She was a loving, caring individual, and I feel like she was just kind of searching for love, but searching for love in the wrong places. Um, she started dealing with this guy, and from what I understand, this guy was a drug dealer, and he didn't like kids. So that's a key part to this story.
That should be right there. That should be eye opener. I mean, I ain't saying that everybody, well, shouldn't nobody have a problem with kids, but some people might just not be ready for kids, so that's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But just to not like kids, yeah, something ain't right about that.
So one day, he, I guess, had went to New York City, did some things in New York City, and then he was on his way back to the city that they were living in. I guess he called her and said that he was going to pick her up so that they can hang out, and apparently they were supposed to go to the movies. So he comes into town and he picks her up. And when he picks her up, actually before they leave, my mom has this feeling, like she has this eerie feeling like something just isn't right. And so she said to her, she was just like, listen, if you're going anywhere, then you need to take your son with you. And my sister was like she was so determined to go out with this guy that she literally was like, okay. Even knowing that this guy didn't like kids, she was so desperate to go that she said, okay. So apparently, like the moments before she walked out the door, my mom said she got like another eerie feeling, and she just was like, you know what, never mind, just leave him here. So right. She leaves her son there with my mom, and then she goes out the door. So she goes with this guy, and apparently prior going to the movies, they make a pit stop at his apartment. So they're in the apartment, and from what I understand, while they're in the apartment, at some point she ends up going to the bathroom. And while she ends up going to the bathroom, there's a knock at the door. And from what I understand, with the knock at the door, he looks through the peephole and he sees somebody that he knows. That's a major part to the story. So he opens the door, and when he goes to open the door, this guy like kind of bum rushes into the door. So not the person that he saw in the peephole, it was a man. So he saw his ex-girlfriend in the peephole, so he opened the door, not thinking anything of it. However, come to find out, the ex-girlfriend had a new boyfriend, and she was setting him up. So he bum rushes through the door and comes in, gets him down on his knee.
So just in case, y'all didn't hear it. So Buddy was known for, pushing weight, and that's why she set him up, because that his ex knew that he was, get some money. So, just one of them sour exes, you feel what I'm saying? You gotta be careful, man. You gotta watch out.
And somehow there's a scuffle, and he shoots the guy that my sister is dating in the back of the head. And when the shots go off, of course, they're loud. So my sister was in the bathroom, so she didn't think anything of it. So she literally screamed. And when she screamed because she heard the shots, that's how they knew that she was there. Right. So they go back there to the bathroom and shoots her twice, once in the upper left arm and then down in the torso. And then they leave. So with them leaving, I guess neighbors heard gunshots, but never called 911. I guess maybe didn't want to be involved or what have you. So come to find out, the boyfriend and girlfriend who committed the crime called some crackheads and had them go back into the apartment and take his phone and my sister's phone. He paid them X amount of dollars to go in there and take the phones. So they go in, take the phones. They don't take any money. They don't take anything else that's in there. They literally take the phones. Take the phones. And then the girl that took the phone then does an anonymous call to 911 and says that she thinks she heard a shooting. However, by this time, they were already, they've been gone. They've already been laid in there, deceased. My mom said that she woke up out of her sleep, and when she woke up out of her sleep, she had just like this feeling. So when she looked, she saw that my sister, wasn't there, didn't come home. So she called her phone, and she said when she called it the first time, the phone rang. It rang until it went to the voicemail. No answer. So she said she waited a few minutes, and then she called the phone again. Well, when she called the phone again, the phone immediately went to voicemail. So at that point, I'm thinking they had already got a hold of the phones and then maybe turned the phones off so that, I don't know, maybe something with the locations or what have you. So my mom says, even though she was feeling away, it was late at night, so she went to sleep. So as she goes to sleep, there is a knock at the door. And so follow for part 2. This is part 2 on how my sister was unalived with the man that she met 3 weeks ago. To start off from the last video, so at exactly 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock on my mom's door. So she thought that she heard something and she wasn't sure. So then there was a knock again. So she gets up and she goes to the door and she says, "Who is it?" And when she says, "Who is it?" the 2 detectives were standing there and they stated who they were. So She opens the door. So when she opens the door, she's still kind of like frazzled. Like she's kind of almost feeling like she's in a dream because she opens the door and 2 detectives are standing at the door. So she's like, "Can I help you?" And they say, "Hi, ma'am, we're wondering if you know a woman by the name," and says my sister's name, Aisha Holden. And it's not funny, but my mom says, because you had to know my sister to know how she was. Like she was funny. She always cracked jokes. Like you just couldn't really take her serious. So The first thing my mom says is, "Well, what did she do?" So they said, "Can we come in?" So she lets them in. So I guess they're like asking her all these different questions, like when's the last time she talked to her, and she's basically saying like, "Well, I've been calling her. The phone did ring, but now it's going to voicemail." And then she basically breaks down the situation that, she met this guy and that he came to pick her up and he was supposed to be taking her to the movies. And, she went off with this guy and she hasn't heard from her since. She said she started calling her like around 11:45 midnight that night, and the phone, it rang for a little bit, and then she started calling it again and it started going to voicemail. So long story short, they asked her, at this point she tells them like, "That's my daughter, like what's going on? Because what is all this about?" Like she's starting to get frustrated because you know how it is when the detectives come, they ask all these questions before they basically tell you what's going on.
Now I can understand what you mean by that, you know what I'm saying? Although I haven't been questioned by detectives, you know what I'm saying? But by the police, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it can be annoying, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it is when it comes to them. They want to know, you know what I mean? But back to the last few minutes ago, man, I just wanted to come in and say, mamas always know, you know what I'm saying? Always got the intuitions, you know what I'm saying? So mamas out there, go with your intuitions, you know what I'm saying? If you feel like your kid's up to something, check up on them, let it be known, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, you might be able to stop some or prevent something that could possibly happen, man.
So at some point within the conversation, they ask her to sit down. And so she goes to sit down. And when she goes to sit down, they proceed to tell her that my sister was unalived. At this point, when they tell her that, she still does not believe them. Like she does not believe that that they just told her that her daughter's unalive. So she's like, "You need to call my daughter." But at this point, she's saying, "Call me." She's like, "You need to call my daughter. You need to call my daughter. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, what are you talking about? Is this a joke?" She was alone, and at the same time, she had my sister's son with her who was sleeping, and at the time, he was only 3 years old. So at this point, she starts calling my phone, but it's 5:30, almost 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be up for work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, I didn't hear the phone. I had the phone on vibrate. So she calls my aunt. and we're extremely close. So at some point, my aunt starts calling me, and my cell phone, I remember it like it was yesterday. My cell phone starts ringing on the nightstand, and it actually felt like I was in a dream. The phone was ringing, and it rang so much that it fell off the nightstand onto the floor. And so when I picked up the phone, because it was ringing, it was my aunt, and I literally like went off. I'm just like, why do you keep calling me? Like, I gotta get up, I gotta go to work, yada yada yada, whatever. So she's like, get up. She's like, I'm on my way to get you. Something happened to Isha. And I'm just like, what? Now, key part to this. I know this sounds absolutely insane, but 2 years prior to my sister's unaliving, I had a dream that she was unalived in a ditch. And I remember I called her on the phone and she didn't answer for hours. And when she finally answered the phone, I literally cursed her out. Like, why didn't you answer the effing phone? Like, I've been calling you. I had this dream. I was worried, yada, yada. So it's crazy that exactly 2 years to the date of that dream, my sister was unalived. So I get myself, like, I jump up. I'm like frazzled. I'm like trying to get myself together, everything like that. Throwing some clothes on. So I call into my job. And I let them know that I'm not coming in because something happened to one of my siblings. That was all I said.
Right.
So in the meantime, by then my aunt gets to my house, and it's about a 45-minute ride to where my mom lives in the next city over. So we're riding up there. Now, mind you, as we're riding up there, in my mind, I'm thinking, not that this is a joke, but I'm thinking, like, there's no way that, like, this is true. Like, I know we're going to get there. She's going to be okay. Or, she just didn't come home. Like, there's no way. So while we're riding up there, I get online and I look up the news in my mom's city. And it says, male and female found deceased in an apartment building. So, and it's crazy because look at my hands. I'm like shaking, reliving the story. But even then in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that is her. Follow me for part 3. Part 3 on how my sister was unalived with a man she met 3 weeks ago. So to jump off from where I was in part 2. So I'm riding up, I see the article, and I'm still in disbelief, like, no, there's no way this can't be. So we get up to the city and we get to my mom's house. And when I get there, my mom is just, I felt like she was like in shock. Like she came out of her apartment, and, my nephew was there, who again is only 3 years old. And, he's bouncing around and bopping around, and my mom starts telling us all the things that the detectives, and the cops said to her, and like all these different things, but it still doesn't seem real. However, they said that we needed to go to the hospital to ID her body. So at this point, we all get in the car, which is me, my mom, my aunt, and my nephew. And I had reached out to, my sister had a different dad, so we have the same mom, but she had a different dad. So I had reached out to some of her dad's side of the family, and 2 of her cousins said that they were on their way up to the hospital as well. So we get to the hospital. The crazy part is, as I told you in part 2, that I called into my job. When I called into my job, instead of it being a private matter, which to this day I'm still disgusted, it literally spread like wildfire. They literally must have been chatting and like trying to find out information and all this other stuff. It got out so fast. So mind you, this is in a city 45 minutes over. It wasn't even in the city that I lived in. When we get to the hospital, we walk in, and the craziest thing happens. We go to security and we tell them why we're there. I gave the security my ID and everything like that, which is crazy, is the phone rang as I'm standing there. And guys, please forgive me because I'm a little shaky, because it's every time when I think about it, it's like reliving it all over again. But yeah. I'm standing in front of the security guard's office at the hospital, and the phone rings. He answers the phone, and someone on the phone says that they're me. So they call the hospital trying to get information on my...
How she get a call saying that it's her? That gotta be crazy, man. I feel like some up with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you mean? Like, you call it talking about it's me. You saying my name, and I'm standing right here. Like, no, that sounds like some set up all the way through. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird.
Sister, and says that they were me. And it's so crazy. Like, the guard was like, you're, Jasmine Holden or whatever. And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, well, that's funny because she's standing right here in front of me. And then he hangs up. So people were literally already calling, trying to be nosy and get information. So we sit down for a couple of minutes, and they said we had to wait for, someone to come and get us. So someone comes and gets us, and we all get in the elevator. Now, this is where it gets crazy. We get in the elevator, and still, I did not think that it was true that this was happening. I'm still like, no, we're going to go down there. We're going to ID the body. It's not going to be her. Like, this is a joke. It's not,
Hope.
We got in that elevator, and the elevator started going down. And when it started going down, I honestly felt like my heart just like sank. But in my mind, I'm still trying to tell myself, like, there's no way, like this, there's just no way. Like, we're going to go in here. It's not going to be her. It's all going to be fine, whatever. So we get down to the bottom floor. It's so cold. It's dark. It's quiet. I didn't know that this is like the morgue of, the hospital. I've never been, in a situation like this before. So they take us to this room, and the door's closed, and they had 2 guards there. And I remember them saying, when you get inside, please, you're not able to, don't touch anything. Like, don't touch the body, you can't touch the body. So in my mind, I'm still like, there's no way. They open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And when they opened the door, she was laying there. Like, she was laying like, I don't know if it was a bed or like what it was, but she was laying there, and she was kind of like in a white bag, and they had it like unzipped, and she had like a sheet, and the sheet was kind of like folded to here. And the crazy part,
I know that gotta, you know what I'm saying, be a hurtful feeling, you know what I mean, to see somebody you love, in that type of situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Just laying up there lifeless, you know what I mean? It gotta be a hurtful feeling, you know what I'm saying? You can see it in her eye that she finna, you know what I'm saying, cry just thinking about it and talking about it, you know what I'm saying? Which make her a strong person, you feel me? Because she able to do that. You know what I mean? So, my bad for pausing the video. I just had to get that out, though.
Now you got to understand that me and my sister were a year, not even a year and a half apart.
Okay.
And so when I walked in there, and she was like just laying on the bed, and like, her eyes were like not closed, but they weren't open. She had like a little piece of blood like coming down her nose. And in my mind, I still did not believe that she was unalive. Like, I could have, like, I was standing there, and it was like I felt like I saw her chest breathing, and I just remember like I didn't hear anything around me, nothing around me, like nothing at all. Like, come back for part 4. This is part 4 on how my sister was unalive with the man that she met 3 weeks ago. Sorry guys, I'm outside in my kids' soccer and I don't want them to hear. So anyway, as I was saying, so we walk into this room, and she's laying there on the table, and everything, literally, I can't hear anything. Like, I look over, and my mom, literally, when I tell you guys, she was screaming. I mean, she must have jumped 10 feet off of the ground. And the security guards had to literally grab her and tackle her to the floor because she was screaming. And I mean, but in the midst of her screaming, it was like I heard her screaming, but I didn't hear her screaming. They tackled her to the floor, and at this point, I start calling my sister's name. I'm like, Aisha, get up, Aisha, get up. And she's not moving. She's just laying there on the table, and I'm just literally, I'm calling her. I'm like, get up. And again, I'm still thinking she's like breathing, like even though she's not, but when you're so in shock, you have no idea. And the last thing I remember, I just remember everything going pitch black. I must have blacked out. I must have, fell out. I must have, I don't know. But I come to it, I get up and I go over to her body, and I'm just looking.
In disbelief.
Just looking at her, and like, it was like a dream. Like, just imagine your sibling, your loved one, and you're just literally standing over top of their deceased body. It was the most outer body experience, and it's something that honestly I wouldn't wish on anybody. You know, I'm gonna continue with more videos, but to know me is to know that I took care of my sister. Like, my mom was on drugs, sorry guys, my entire life, and I practically raised my sister. So to see her laying there on a table like that, it was literally the most, it was a pain that I can't even begin to explain. The pain, the hurt, it was pure insanity. So fast forward, guys, after that, you know, we left the hospital, and then I honestly feel like I didn't even get time to grieve, because like I said, my mom was still an addict at the time, so everything fell on me. So I had to literally do everything from planning a funeral to, you know, and then immediately I was a single mom already with my first son. So I had to take her son and take him back home with me. Like, I didn't have a babysitter, you know, for him. I didn't have childcare. Like, it was just a lot, guys. Like, it was just horrible. It was the most horrible experience that you could ever imagine. Fast forward to the trial. First of all, the girl who helped her boyfriend, the guy, and my sister, she fled. So she had to be captured by bounty hunters, and she fled all the way to Florida. So they found her in Florida. They found him by stuff that he was posting on Facebook and like tips. And what's crazy is, for a couple of months, I would go up there because I kind of felt like, even though you know how investigations go where, you know, they're doing work behind the scenes, but I just felt like the case was moving too slow. And I watched, you know, a lot of First 48, and I just kind of felt like my sister's case was not being handled correctly. So I literally would leave work and drive 45 minutes all the way up to the next town. And I would go up there and basically look for clues and knock on doors. Like, when I tell you, I was not letting her pass away in vain. I was knocking on doors. I have flyers, posters. I was putting them on trees and telephone poles and everything. And people were like leaving tips and like, you know, putting stuff on my Facebook, and I was sending it over to the police. Like, it was just a lot. But at the end of the day, the guy was captured. So was the girl. They actually used the girl to turn on the guy to be able to fully pin everything on him. And all in all, the trial lasted for about a week. He got sentenced to almost 80 years. Because technically he got sentenced to 45 years, but he was already 42 years old when he went in there. So technically it'd be 80 some odd years that he would be in there with no possibility of parole. So even though I wanted him to get a life sentence, I mean, I was okay with that because that was the best that was on the table.
Yeah. That's just a messed up situation, you know what I'm saying? For you to go call yourself going out, you know what I'm saying, hanging out, and then next minute, you know, you get yourself in a situation that then, you know, took somebody's life. So, you know, it's just a messed up situation. Rest in peace to the young lady, you know what I'm saying? And this lady here is pretty much strong, but this is Jackpot's reaction. And I appreciate y'all watching the video. You stayed for the whole video. I appreciate that. Make sure you come back and watch more with me, you know what I'm saying?